Okay, so what I'm going to be tying here is like a mother of all leeches variant. What I've already done is I've already pre-selected the cone that I want to use on this thing. And I've already pre-tied a hook on my fire line. I figure these aren't things you guys necessarily need to see, and if you do, ask me and I'll show you how to do stupid things. Not to make you feel stupid. Cone head is copper, medium, 5mm, Pro Sport Fisher. So, mother of all leeches is a super easy fly to tie. It's mostly super glue and there's not a whole lot of tying. What I have selected here is some sockeye red rabbit strips, and I've also got some fluorescent orange. Those are the colors I'm going to use on this fly today because I feel like it. And then I'll get to some flash at some point, and I may even add some rubber legs, and definitely because I have a loose piece of the Spirit River tip-dyed marabou. This obviously like flame red black. I'm going to use that to kind of finish it up. That's not typical of a mother of all leeches, but we're not tying exactly the standard mother of all leeches. So anyways, fire line. I'm going to get it a little bit wet because that's cut a little sloppily. You got to run it through the cone. The reason why the Pro Sport Fishers are actually nice for this is because they're big enough for a tube, so they slide right onto this Aquafly's shank with no problem. And now length, I'm gonna probably tie a little bit longer than normal, as in I'm gonna have like a 3-inch fly, and normally I tie them probably about 2.5 inches, something along there. Oh, you know, the bonger move that I did here is I did not tie in any thread. So, that was a stoner move, and I don't even fucking bong out. You can pull fucking stoner moves without actually needing to be a stoner, apparently. So, there we are. Now we're into what looks like it'll be 1, 2, 3 inches. Yep. So, the whole thing about this, you can see it's being tied on the shank. The shank is probably about 1.25 inches long. But the reality is when you start tying a mother of all leeches, all of it gets tied onto the fire line. Not really a whole bunch of it gets tied onto the shank. So when we come up to it, it's literally where it meets this, and you only end up tying maybe like 1/4 inch onto the actual shank, and you cut all that extra shit off to get it out of the way and not have it interfere with the wiggleness that a mother of all leeches is. So, I've never typically been somebody who runs my shit through the eye of the hooks, but I'm going to today. I just never thought this was a hyper necessary move necessarily. And the reason why I never thought that is because if you double back it, that thread like bites into it pretty well, and it just never seemed necessary. However, because so very little of this actually gets tied onto the shank, I feel with the mother of all leeches that if you don't do this, you're taking a serious gamble. So now we can really kind of get this, try to get it up in this cone the best you can, because again, you're not going to have that much to tie. And then shitty scissors, but good enough to tie that, to cut through fire line, which these are obviously not good enough to cut through fire line, so not at all. Let's try another tactic here, I guess, and go with some big old dikes. Wow, this is for shit. So I got a hook, this hook, hang it off out of your way so you don't get fucked up by it. And then we'll go. And every like third or fourth wrap, you can kind of crank down on that and get it walked in. I feel confident with this. So here's where, if you ever keep the adapter that comes with your vise to hang your bobbin holder, it would be super great for this fly, and it's about the only time ever on this planet Earth that it would be necessary. But if you have two vices, oftentimes what I do is I just bring this one over and I flip this thing up or whatever, and then I'll bring this around and you got that. I don't know if you can see this. There we go. So here's where super glue and rabbit strip come in, right? I want to put, I'm actually going to start with the sockeye red on the back and then do orange and then finish up with some other things. So go ahead and peel a little bit of this material out of your way so you get something to start with. If you got a bodkin, and you can spread this fire line, and it just kind of gets in there, hangs on to it for a second, you know what I mean? And we're just going to start going to super glue town like right now. So a little pro tip with your super glue: if you take some lipstick and you run that around this, you're always going to have a better chance of it not getting glued together with that chapstick in there. That clue came to me from, well, I actually was watching an Eric Leninger fly tying Friday Night Flies, and he did that. So I like to get myself a good chunk of this while I can see it smoking already. If you can see it smoking, you know it's getting nuking like pretty quick. So I actually did this fucking backwards. Hang on a second, we have to start over again. Let's see if I stand a chance. The bonged out thing I just did there is I didn't tie in my material correctly so that it would face backwards. It was all going to face forwards, and that's just not a fucking fun time. So make sure you do that correctly. I should have mentioned that. Wasn't thinking about it. Luckily I caught it before I got too far, and we're able to kind of hit the reset button here. Bobcat. See if I can get this split open again, or if it's glued shut. It's not glued shut, so got lucky. And super glue. I know with all certainty I'm not going to need that much of it, so I'm going to cut this the fuck out of here so I'm not dealing with that much material. And as you do with most materials, you can give it a little lick and help keep that shit out of your way, especially when you're dealing with super glue. If any of your materials, if any of those fibers get down in that super glue, it sucks. And then the whole thing to this is it's rabbit strips, so each one of the, right where the hide is, just one tight wrap on the next, and then kind of pinch it on that super glue, and that's pretty well it. Don't run too much glue up. Like for every like 3 wraps roughly is what you're gonna want to get pre-glued. Otherwise it just dries as you go. That's pretty fucking pointless, eh? So pinch, pinch. It's seeming like I'm probably gonna do 2 more wraps like this and then switch to the orange. Ooh. Where that ends, cut it out. I will, that last section right there, yes, your fingers are gonna get a little bit of glue on them. That's the nature of this fucking fly. So basically it's looking like this right now, right? Tying right on fire line. It's a real fucking weird thing. I mean, like, that's just not something you do with anything else, really. But another little pro trick, which I'm just blowing hot air really, but if you put your materials away and you keep a nicer space, you're gonna have a better time. But who are we fucking kidding? None of us do that shit. None of us. Fucking orange. Same thing we had going this time. See if I go like this, it runs it the wrong direction. I want to give that thing the old flip so that it runs it in the right direction towards my hook. Peel a little bit back, create a nice tie-in point. Same jammy here, get that bobbin out. Fucking dickhead. Holy shit, jizz, I can't fucking get it to split. Okay. Fucker. What a fucker. Where are my little tweezers at, man? These things oftentimes help if you have to pull. They're awesome. Keep some around. Now, glue. Yes, that's a big old chunk of rabbit, of the hide sticking out there, right? But that is a nice thing to have, because I peel it, pinch it, pull it back into those previous materials so that I can start. And then I'm gonna get them fucking a little pre-wetted down here because I feel like it. So I can kind of take a guess at this again. It's easier if you cut manageable materials. That's our little baby Atlas making noise over here. He sounds fine. Roxy's around somewhere. If he gets too feisty, I'll ask her if she'll come swoop him up for a minute. I'm technically on duty, but this is what I do when I'm on duty. Is we tie flies. So run out of glue already. Don't go crazy with the glue, because otherwise it'll squeeze out of this, and that just turns into the kind of nightmare that you definitely don't want. Gets all gooped out and fucks up your day. Having a tough time seeing it now, but I know it's there. Now I know with all certainty in this world that usually when I do this, I weight this so it doesn't sit there and bounce around on me. And what I mean by that is my other vise, because I'm just dragging one away from the other, and I keep creating slack in this, and it's fucking annoying. But I guess that just fucking sometimes has to happen. So here we are, we're getting pretty close to tying onto our shank here. So it's going to be pretty much this wrap coming up here right now, actually. And then we get into the fun shit. Because right about here, I get to fucking disconnect this vise and get it out of my fucking way. Get out. And begin to tie onto the shank. Right now it's still just glue. But right about here, we can apply some wraps and actually lock down that rabbit. Okay, so this is what it starts looking like now. So I have this space. In most mother of all leeches basically end right here. We add some flash, put that cone on, call it a fucking day, right? But we are not doing that because I'm feeling a little frisky. And I have all these like scrap pieces of material all over the place here, and I'm gonna try to use them up in some way. So this may not be the best thing ever, but I'm gonna go ahead and do it anyway. And hey, I got a piece of EP brush right here, right? I'm actually gonna fucking tie this thing in. I don't know how it's gonna buff out. We're just experimenting. Rocks. But the point of this is that I'm gonna add some marabou right here, and maybe it'll just help it flare up and it'll create a neat little effect. I don't know. This thing could ultimately be like the dumbest failure ever. Where are those big old turds at? Okay. anything else floating around here I just want to fucking give the old experiment to? Don't know. Don't know. Maybe. Let's see here. Is it gonna look stupid beyond belief? Yeah, I don't think I'm gonna do that. So instead, we'll just get into this marabou. Peel it back, create a tie-in point. It doesn't have to be fucking perfect. In fact, having a few of those fibers from on this side come up into your tie-in point, I think actually kind of helps lock it in place. And why it's especially not important is because this is getting a cone. It's gonna hide all the bulkiness. You can go to fucking bulk town on this and like it's not a fucking big deal, right? So yeah. And before I actually do that, I'm gonna do this too. This literally actually just fucking fell down from a place up here, and I think I'm gonna add it. Deal with those in a minute. All right. I'm gonna end up having to add some music to this video, aren't I? Because it's gonna be one of those fucking rather quiet ones. It's seeming really quiet in my house right now. We got like the Portland snow that shuts down the city, but it doesn't really fucking mean anything. So it's been like a weirdly quiet day. Been trapped inside all day. Mostly because I don't want to get out and deal with the idiots who are unprepared to travel in snow. A lot of people out here get all terrified. And then they still go try to drive in it anyway, which fucking makes less sense. So now let's fucking stop wrapping it. It's seeming like I don't want it to be that bulky. And there's the dogs. Cut out the stem. You can fucking leave it if you want. Not recommended. I have no idea what they're fucking making so much noise for. And the only last bit I have going on here is to add some flash. I had a gentleman show me this the other day. These are boba straws. And that is fucking amazing to store your flash material inside these things. I've done it to a whole bunch of them that basically needed to find their way. And wow, look at that. I actually have some. What I'm going to do is I'm literally building a scrap fly. These things are coming off my lap right now. And I'm going to use whatever the fuck I just picked up off my lap. And I'm going to tie that in because that's flash. That's flash, that'll do. Yep. So. And then really here in a second, I'm definitely going to pull another little trick. If you haven't picked up a package of these, so I keep them clipped kind of like typically everywhere. But the little hair clips, they're so fucking cheap. Dollar Tree, you can pick them up $1 for like 20 of them or whatever it is. And why it is so rad is because you can like pluck back, clip back your shit and not ever have to deal with that crap ever again. So that's important right now for me to say, because I am about to it's going to keep getting in my way if I don't do it. So and all these things that are kind of all over the place right now, I'll clean those up in just a second. You guys will see exactly what I'm talking about. See how this thing came from somewhere? It doesn't have a home. I just had it dangling off of a hook up there, and now it does. It's awesome. And then it goes in a baggie, and then it gets hung up on my wall. So whip finish, and some super glue in there if we have any room. Let's see if I have room. I do if I use a bobkin, which I will do, I suppose. So we're going to push that cone up in there, super glued, I hope. If it is super glued proper, it should start sticking. Release. Seems like that might buff out right there. So now, don't want all this flash and shit just kind of wherever it wants to be. We want it to be hanging out at the back of the materials, like hanging off. This is really dealer's choice in regards to that length. It just can't be, the hard and fast rule is that it can't be way fucking stupidly exaggerated beyond your materials, but it can be just short or just beyond. There's the only hard and fast rule I would say is it just can't go dangle way back there, because otherwise you'll get false strikes. I mean, you can, but that's what they're going to hit, is most likely your flash that's trailing way behind, rather than you know, if you set your hook back far enough, you could always do that too. Let's just not get into that fucking complicated mess and just say that's the way it is. Anyway, that's pretty much it. That's going to be some Mother of All Leeches Marabou variant. That's what we'll call it. Oh, the only piece I forgot, remember I told you early on in this thing, is we have, this was tied on a shank. We still have that little piece. We actually get in there as deep as we can and cut that out. Now it's done. Now it's basically all just fire line, and it's only that much shank. I mean, it's barely tied on. That shank is way up in here, way up in there. All right, man.